What's up, movie nerds? It's your girl CC, and let's get candid about Black Bag. This was a pretty interesting movie. I thought it was very cool to go through all of the twists and turns of this spy movie in a way that wasn't obvious, but made sense when you saw all the pieces put together. Sometimes in spy films, or really any film with a twist, the twist at the end is something that you don't see coming because there was no way you could see it coming, just because of how the movie was framed or how it flowed.
You didn't plan this very well, did you, David?
And sometimes the spy movie is just plain unbelievable with all of the gadgetry, the violence, and flashy action. But not in this movie. It was sort of like a whodunit spy movie, with a good bit of espionage, but the twist at the end made you gasp with recognition and not surprise. Well, maybe a little bit of surprise. But the recognition comes from understanding how all of the pieces fit together due to other scenes in the movie.
It's all coming together.
If you were super smart and on every detail, you probably could have figured it out in the end right before the big reveal. I had some moments where I actually called some stuff, but not in a way that makes the movie predictable, but in the way that I just saw the carefully laid out puzzle pieces and put a few of them together. I think movies like this are very fun and interesting because it's nice to see the care and the thoughtfulness put into something so that the viewers are able to enjoy the movie with the movie instead of just being blindsided right at the end by the big reveal, feeling like none of the movie mattered because it kind of didn't.
How does that work exactly?
You want a movie where the explanation at the end makes sense when you look back at the rest of the movie. Now, I do have to say that this movie was on the low end of the exciting meter. You really could find yourself being bored if you weren't totally invested in the whodunit and what happened aspect of this movie. It's not a movie with big explosions, gunfights, and big climactic moments.
More explosions and so much louder.
It mostly had the same pace and the same excitement levels the whole time. About a 4. And then a couple of moments were jumped up to a 6. That being said, it might have been because they wanted this movie to be more reminiscent of real life espionage instead of espionage like James Bond or The Kingsman.
Shaken, not stirred.
All in all, it was fun to see a more secret and more real version of a spy movie, even if it lacked a bit in the excitement. But that's just my initial review of the movie. Keep on watching to hear the full review and whether or not you want to give this movie a shot. There will be spoilers in the reasons for the rating, so be aware.
You have been warned.
And let's get this party started.
I mean, really, let's do this, Mother!
First up is acting, which I give an 8 out of 10. Honestly, the characters were really well done. They seemed different enough from each other to be unique characters, and they also worked together as a whole. So you had a realistic and cohesive spy ring, along with a great cast.
He's a friend from work!
Since the movie was less action-packed or focused, the cast had to bring all of the intrigue through their actions. And I think they did it well with the inflections in their voices, the tiny movements on their faces, you know, etc., things like that. You really got a lot of the story and the emotions from the actors themselves, so they did really well.
It's so beautiful.
Next up is story and script, which I give a 6 out of 10. Now, I believe the story was really well done. The intrigue was there for the spy aspect, and I thought that making it a whodunit was very unique for spy movies.
You make this sound like a murder mystery.
It lended itself very well to the movie, and it made a lot of sense, with the added plus of you being able to figure it out if you were paying close attention to the movie. It didn't blindside you at the end with an explanation out of nowhere. The whole movie itself made sense altogether. But the problem, and why I took some points off, comes from the script, due to the fact that the movie can just be kind of boring.
Could you be any more boring?
It's the same level of emotion and action throughout the movie, like I said before, with a couple of small spikes at certain moments. The word monotone kind of comes to mind, and you don't want that for a movie. It's kind of like reading a book, which isn't bad per se, but it doesn't really hold the brain when you're watching it on screen.
He can't read!
Now for the theme, which I give an 8 out of 10. The theme was more or less doing what was right and being trustful. And I think I like that a lot. I mean, they saved the world / Britain from terrorism, and that's awesome.
We do not negotiate with terrorists.
But also the fact that the spouse actually trusted each other throughout the entire movie. They're both spies, and they were both so incredibly trusting of each other that even when it seemed like they weren't trusting each other, they were. And you'll see that throughout the course of the movie. It was actually very refreshing to see because a lot of times you see see the spouses like questioning each other or just going against each other, fighting each other for some reason. Mr. and Mrs. Smith come to mind. But these ones were all for each other. They were gonna save each other, come hell or high water. Plus, you know, they stopped terrorism and the people who thought that terrorism was okay as long as it was in their favor, so. Now for the details, which I also give an 8 out of 10. This kind of goes along with what I was saying in the story and the acting. I mean, the little details in the actors' faces, their mannerisms, and just the acting in general made this movie. Along with all the pieces of the story and all of the props in this movie just falling together at the end to make a very cohesive story and a very nice ending that actually made sense throughout the entire movie.
I actually understood that.
Without all of these details and all of this care that was put into it to make all of it work, the movie simply would not have worked. It would not have been good.
I love it that you care about the details.
Otherwise, you would have just been watching a really boring movie and then saw the end and be like, where did that come from? So it was really good that they had really good details in this. Maybe I should change it to a 9 out of 10. Let's change it to 9.
I earned this body.
Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the full review. So here's your spoiler warning right now.
Spoiler alert.
And let's get into the reasons for the rating. This movie is an R-rated thriller, and I think the rating is correct. It's definitely where it needs to be for sure. And let's get into that.
Sex, baby.
There were 2 scenes that could have been an allusion to sex between the married couples. You know, that's okay. Plus a few talks of cheating and pleasuring oneself.
Drugs and alcohol.
There were quite a few characters who drank in this movie. One person who got drunk, and I do believe that I saw cigarettes here and there. No hard drugs though. Unless you count like a semi-truth serum that the main character spiked some other characters' foods with just so he could get some information out of them.
Time for violence.
The only things that were violent in this movie was that a man was poisoned. You kind of saw him like seizing up. A knife was shoved through someone's hand, and a man was shot in the head with blood splatter out the back on the wall. And then that body was disposed of, and also there was a blowing up of a car that had 2 people in it. The big thing from this movie that gave it its R rating was the
Language.
It's certainly not as bad as the last 3 that we've talked about, but you know it could always do with less. Although, at least it did seem natural. You're in the video right now. There were 42 F words, 11 S words, 3 heavy uses of the Lord's name in vain, 3 B words, 1 D word, 1 A word, and 5 other various swears.
Stop cussing, because you're not good at it.
You know, thinking back, I've always found it so weird that the F word is so massively used in entertainment and media when it's allowed, aka the R rating. And then all of the other swears go by the wayside. Like, you always see that disparity. There's like 42 F words and then 11 S words. Like, there's no balance.
May we live in peace, balance, and harmony.
To be honest, I really don't think everyday life is so inundated with the F word. You just don't come across it as much as they're depicted in movies and entertainment and other media. But, you know, that's just a thought. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk and everything.
She could be wrong, you know.
Now, overall, I give this movie a 6 out of 10. Honestly, the movie was really well done, with the acting and the pieces that fit together to give a very cohesive spy story, but I think it could have used a bit more intensity, you know, just a little bit. I mean, you don't have to change the feel and theme of the movie, just make it a little tad bit more interesting. I mean, if someone came up to me and told me that this movie was incredibly boring and that they couldn't watch it, I'd honestly kinda see why.
I'm afraid she has a point.
An otherwise really well done story that got a little hurt in the way that it presented itself. And that's just honestly too bad. Plus, we kind of didn't get the satisfaction of seeing the big bad get got at the end.
He got away.
It was just his lackey that carried out the deeds.
Wrap that up and give it to a child on Christmas, because we're done.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this movie review. If you want to see any other movie, please comment down below. Or comment anything, I will answer. Also, please share this with your friends. And like and subscribe so I can keep making videos like this for you. Every Friday I have a new review, so if you want to see something specific, again, comment down below. Also, don't forget, Mondays are 1-minute stub reviews, where I review a movie that I've seen before right off the top of the brain for you. So if you want to see any of those as full reviews, you know what to do. And again, thank you so much for watching, and remember, right here at Candid Candid Cinema, it's okay to talk, it's okay to text, and I will CC you later. Bye!